And welcome back to another episode of Board Game Snobs. This is going to be a little bit different. Jerry's not here. It's just me. So I can relax, be without stress, have no one demeaning me. With me today, though, well, it's not just me. With me today is an old podcast friend. Can you call it? I was thinking about that. It's like, can you call yourselves friends when it's like, I've known of you for 10 years through podcasting. I've messaged you maybe 15 times over 10 years.
But you emailed us too.
James Kincaid of the Best Damn Nerd Show. Welcome, James.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And yes, I would say absolutely we can be considered friends. And in a lot of ways, some of my most treasured friends have come via the Best Damn Nerd Show, and I think, getting the Wayback Machine all the way to early 2009 when we started doing it, I had no idea that it would lead to meeting so many cool people like yourself and keeping in contact with them. And it's one of the best parts about doing the Best Damn Nerd Show. It is forming those bonds with people that I've never met in person, but we're into the same stuff and just communicating. And you emailing the podcast over the years, your messages, the encouragement is always been very appreciated. And it's one of the things that struck me about when we rebooted the Best Damn Nerd Show for the 10-0 Media Network. Just the messages of support and excitement that we were coming back in a big way was pretty cool. So thank you for having me, by the way. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We just recorded our episode 150, and it was a doozy for us. Ours is usually like 30 minutes to an hour on a good day.
Yeah.
But the one we did is going to be... It's going to be a little over 3 hours, and I usually do the editing, although I sent most of it to Jerry, and actually he did most of the editing, but I have to go through and double check his editing skills because he flies a little loose with the editing. I like to keep a little more tight than he does. But yeah.
I know that struggle very much so.
Yeah, your show, it's not board game specific, so this is a little bit different. Y'all did discuss, I guess it was... I'm not caught up on all your episodes just yet. I quit truck driving. I quit truck driving back in July of last year, and I quit it for like 6 months. And so I'm like 6 months behind on all the podcasts. Now I'm back driving again, so I'm catching back up slowly but surely.
Well, you got a lot of BDNS content you can catch up on, but yeah, we definitely dance into the board game realm, and I think that this is such a great show that you're doing about board games because some of the things I enjoy the most, and over my career with the Best Damn Nerd Show, I actually look forward to Comic-Con, going to Comic-Con the most now because I know that the Imperial Commissar of the Best Damn Nerd Show, Jeff Budd, will have some cool board games for us to play. And I think like board games have really come back in vogue the last several years, as just a great source of wholesome entertainment. And there, it's a wide range of how deep you want to go with it. So, we've talked HeroQuest, we've talked Shadows of Brimstone, we've talked a few other games over the years, but definitely a huge influence on all of us at the Nerd Show, though.
Yeah, you say we talk board games. We touch on board games. We mostly just rattle our mouths and talk about nonsense. I had come up with a new slogan for our show. I was really excited about it. Board Game Snobs, entry level knowledge, expert level nonsense. I was like, yeah, I need to put that on something. You
absolutely should. I feel like that that could be a personal mantra for myself, depending on the week at the Best Damn Nerd Show too. It's like, I'll talk a bigger game than maybe I actually know what's going on. A very much so Renaissance man, master of none kind of deal.
Yeah.
But I can fake it pretty good.
Y'all's style of game that I think that y'all lean more towards, we're not that we have a style, but we are more of the Euro style worker placement, all that type of stuff. We did just play Project Elite. Have you heard of that one?
I have not heard of that one. What is that?
It just was a Kickstarter, came in not too long ago. It's a real-time alien fighting, basically.
Okay.
You have a timer and you're rolling dice, and as you roll the dice, depending on what the dice tell you to do, the dice will either tell you to move an alien closer towards their objective, or you can move and you have these objectives and you can shoot them, and you have 2 minutes and you're just rolling, and it was just crazy. It was crazy fun.
That sounds stressful but fun.
It is both of those things, yes, all at once. We played it at Board Game Geek 2016 in Dallas. Did you? No, you all came to the Comic-Con years ago in Dallas one time, right?
Not us, but we had actually a sort of the person that runs our Facebook, Joel Bailey, is in Dallas,
okay.
and he went.
Okay, yeah, maybe I had just talked about it, but yeah, it was the Board Game Geek convention is in Dallas, and we go to that every chance we get because it's just like 4 days of nonstop gaming. It's pretty. You got to have some pretty good endurance. It's like marathon gaming. Yeah, it's crazy. My wife thinks it's. She's like, I can't do anything hardly for 12 hours, but I can board game.
So a quick aside. I mean, going back to Jeff Budd, the Imperial Commissar of the show and everything like that. I'll go visit him in San Diego or wherever he might be living in Southern California at a given time, and he's my best friend, and I'll come back, and my girlfriend at the time or my friends were like, "What'd you guys do?" I'm like, well, we played board games. Well, did you go out drinking or anything like that? No, we just stayed in and played game, and we just play games the whole time. Like that's, I mean, it's such. He is so good about it too. Is that I'll show up and he'll have it laid out,
nice.
just, sort of the lineup for the weekend. And it's just, it's so exciting. And it goes so fast, like time flies when you're playing a really good board game.
That's like the only time I don't feel constant hunger is when I'm playing board games. I'll play for hours and hours. And I'm like, oh yeah, I need to eat something.
Seriously. Yeah, absolutely.
If I could just play board games for a living, I might lose some weight. That would be great. Jeff is the first one I ever heard talk about Arkham Asylum, and I was like, I don't have no idea what he's talking about. I thought it had something to do with Batman for the longest time. And
let me just Arkham Asylum does. Arkham Horror.
Yes.
is the H.P. Lovecraft one. Yes,
that's it. Yes, he was always talking about Arkham Horror, and I was like, "Is that a Batman game? What is he talking about?" Yeah, and then now I know. Now I'm know a little more knowledge, entry level. Yes.
Now, can you actually? I don't want to derail the show, but actually, can you explain to me the difference between when you say you play a European style board game versus a Western style board game? Or an American style, I guess.
Now they kind of are combining a lot of the elements, so it's a little bit like a hybrid type stuff now. But generally, when they say Euro style game, they're referring to the fact that there's not any luck in it. Like it's very deterministic. You have your cards or whatever it is. You have a board, you have spots you're going to go to, and you can build your strategy based on that. Of course, you can do that with they call them Ameritrash. People don't like that, so they call it Ameritrash. But mostly, there's no elimination, no player elimination. More of a dry, usually with more themeless. Whereas the American style or Western style, as you say, is more thematic. Action, you can eliminate players, shooting, or stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
But now they've kind of merged. Have you played Scythe?
I have not, but I have heard of Scythe.
That's kind of the one people refer to when they talk about a hybrid, because it does have you can fight other people, but at the same time it's worker placement. You're building and trying to grow crops and this and that, and there's still no dice in that one, but that's roughly the difference between the two. Is European more dry, kind of deterministic, whereas American or Ameritrash is more luck based usually.
Okay, I got you. That well, thank you for that, because I was sort of in the dark about what those differences really were.
I'm not the guy to ask for definitions, Jerry. He's all about the definitions of things, so he would be able to tell you more about it, but. I'm not the word guy. I just like to play the games, and I go based on emotion on everything. So yeah, that's the style I like.
So I feel like you'd be more suited for the Ameritrash if you lead with your emotions.
Project Elite, like that one, I really like that game. We have played Blood Rage. Have you played that one?
I have not. I feel like you're going to be hearing that a lot.
Let me see. So, okay, well, real quick then, if you were to name off a few of your favorites, you said Heroes.
HeroQuest is probably my all-time favorite board game that I've ever played, and that again is courtesy of the Imperial Commissar Jeff Budd and San Diego Comic-Con, and I did back that in the Hasbro Pulse whatever crowdfunding thing that they did for the reboot of that. Shadows of Brimstone's another one. Talisman is a great board game that I really enjoy. I'm trying to think of what other ones. I mean, I like Catan quite a bit. That's a fun board game.
Classic.
I think, I guess if you can, I don't know if you can. Arkham Horror, Mansions of Madness, two of my favorites as well. And I don't know if you consider this a board game or not, or like the game that sort of builds itself, but like Pathfinder, the card game, is definitely one I like as well.
Okay. Your style just veers from our styles are different. That's all.
Yes.
But they're all games. Yeah. But they're all good. It's all good. We've never leaned. I did have a few of those. I think they call some of those like dungeon crawl style as well. The definition to that, I'm not quite sure, but we did have a couple of those. And it was an old one called Omega Protocol. I don't know. It just didn't grab us. Just something about the style just didn't grab us, but that's neither here nor there. You're allowed to like whatever you like. And that's what's great about board games is there's hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, there's so many. Fury of Dracula is another one that is just super fun.
Now, I do like that. I like that style, that hidden movement.
Yes.
I haven't played that one, but I have played the Letters from Whitechapel, which is very similar style. You're just Jack the Ripper instead of Dracula, but I love that game.
Have you played Last Friday, which is a similar style one too? It's essentially just a wink ripoff of Friday the 13th.
No, I heard y'all talking about that one though on your.
Yeah, it's very fun. And what is the one? It's like Betrayal at House on the Hill. That's also a really cool game too.
Okay, so did you grow up with? I mean, did you just meet all those guys at college? Your Best Damn Nerd Show crew?
The original Best Damn Nerd Show lineup was all met through San Francisco State University, and then as we went along, I incorporated a couple friends of mine that I did grow up with in like elementary school and stuff like that, and. One of the things that I love is how
Mark, right?
How much they all jive together, and connected together. That Mark, who I grew up with in elementary school, is now incredibly close with everyone else on the show as well, and stuff like that. So, we some of us grew up together, and some of us met in college.
Oh, so was there like a worried vibe there? Like, I hope Mark fits in and he likes everybody, and everybody.
Yes,
and they like
there
him.
Was, because it's just you never really know, and we had this sort of thing already going, and I wanted to incorporate Mark into the mix because he loves the same things that we do, and I think he's hilarious, and just has such a unique, great personality. And sure enough, it worked completely. I mean, he was a favorite of everybody right away, so I was very, very happy with that.
Yeah, he's a DC guy, that's for sure.
He absolutely is to by default, or to a fault, I guess I should say.
I had asked James for his Bubba Top 5, which was a recent occurrence, but it seems to have really taken off. Our friend Bubba, we simply asked him for his top 5 games. What are your top 5 games? He proceeds to bring us this list of things, and Bubba's mind, I think it works in such a different way. Like he didn't grasp the concept, and it's kind of like, those people that are so smart, but yet they get the simplest things confused. You ever met anybody like genius level, like Bubba's genius level, but sometimes just the simplest things just baffle him.
Yeah.
Asking for his top 5 list apparently baffled him, and he proceeded to name off almost the exact style of list I gave you. But people liked it because it's like, well, it peppered in a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And we're like, sure, we'll just roll with that. So I asked James if he could give us his Bubba top 5. So starting with number 5, the last board game you played would be what, sir?
Now this is, I believe It was the last time I went down to Southern California to visit Jeff. I believe it was Call to Adventure, and
okay.
that is a very fun, very simple game that sort of builds itself, where you are dealt, you get to choose between the options that you're dealt and sort of build out this hero or sort of more nefarious anti-hero type character, and the adventure sort of builds as you go along the way. Plays very quick, super fun though, and it is very much so that American style with theming and things that you can lean into and everything like that. It was very fun.
That's kind of like I know it's like a copyrighted thing, but choose your own adventure type deal or not?
Yeah,
it is. Okay.
It is similar, like, because you'll get scenarios that sort of play out in front of you. Like the board essentially is these event cards that, like, you could go like try and join the Thieves Guild, or you could try and arrest the Thieves Guild, depending on what you want to do and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. And
which way did you lean, sir? I imagine you went to the light side, didn't you?
I did, yes. Well, you know what? It's funny, actually. My character sort of became very much so like Batman, because they give you sort of a motivating factor. And the motivating factor that I got at the beginning was like revenge for some type of thing that happened. So I actually trained with like the League of Assassins in the game to like up my fighting ability, but pretty much everything. Once I was beefed up, I did all the good things essentially.
Okay.
But I had to, I had to dip a toe in a little bit. To
So,
the dark side.
So when speaking of which, so if you play a game like Mass Effect or any of those style, do you always go the Paragon side?
That's a tremendous question. I don't. I oftentimes there's a famous story of the Best Damn Nerd Show that keeps getting retold when I was playing like Knights of the Old Republic. I believe it was part 2, and I had intended on just going full dark side playthrough, but I accidentally got some light side points, and it was part 2, because when you get light side points in part 2, it plays like the Force theme, and I was so moved and so touched by the piece of music that I was like, oh, I can't do this. I can't go to the dark side. I gotta be a Jedi, And so I changed my complete playthrough.
There was still good in you.
Yeah. In Mass Effect, I think that my character was pretty in the first one. He was very human centric. I will just say that he was an Earth firster.
Okay.
If I were to say anything, which in his mind I think would probably be pretty Paragon, but he was, yeah. And then in part 2, he did do a few renegade things, but he was not malevolent. He was just sort of no nonsense kind of deal. But he also wasn't super charitable. But by and large, I do tend to gravitate towards the Paragon playthroughs for sure.
For some reason, I'm the same way. The only game where I went to the dark side completely was Fable. I don't remember which one it was, but one of those, I was getting all scarred up real quick.
See, in Fable, I go full hero. I go full hero in Fable.
I had a woman in every town. Oh yeah. Fable just
see,
sent
I was
me to
tempted
the dark
though,
side.
because like I forget which Fable it was. Was it 2 or 3 where there's like that smoke show governess that you can resurrect and marry or whatever? And that was the only time I was like, well, I sure would like to make her my wife.
Oh yeah. Okay, so Call to Adventure.
So that was the last game I played.
haven't played that one, but I've heard. I know of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the second point was describe a game by box art, if you can.
Okay.
And I'll give it a.
I don't know how this has been done in the past, but this is what I came up with. So you have a Conan-esque barbarian front and center.
Okay.
You have a chaos warrior. You have a chaos warlock. You've got a wizard battling zombies. And then you have an elf and a dwarf battling orcs and goblins, all in this dungeon scene setting.
Is it Conan?
It is not.
Oh,
though
okay.
he definitely looks like Conan.
See, well, this is where our style of games might hurt me because the only one is.
I will say it is very apparent from the box art that the barbarian's a hero, the wizard's a hero, the dwarf and elf are heroes, and everyone else there are these forces of evil sort of assailing them.
Is what style is it? Just that is it a?
It is a dungeon crawler.
Okay.
Sort of. I would say that. If you were too intimidated by Dungeons and Dragons, this is your sort of primer to then get you into D&D. And I'll give you another hint. It's come up already on this show.
Oh, darn my memory. Shadows of Brimstone.
HeroQuest.
Okay. There we go. Yeah. You hit my kryptonite there. I really don't know much about that style. Yeah. Huh. Well, that sounds really cool though.
I mean, look up the box art. The art is phenomenal for HeroQuest. It is, it's some good stuff.
Now, is that the one where you have to set up like all the land and everything?
So it has a board that it's the standard board that you set up, and then you have an adventure booklet that one person is essentially, for lack of a better term, the dungeon master, but you're like Zargon is that. So you're like the mentor leading the heroes from adventure to adventure and telling them, like, setting the scene. So one person doesn't get to be the heroes. They're controlling the monsters and setting the scene, and they set up the board and put the monsters where they're supposed to be. Well, like they put the doors where they are. When you open a door, that's when the person that has the adventure man be like, okay, you see, and he'll just place like 4 orcs or whatever kind of deal, and everything like that. So the person that is manning the lore tome has all of the knowledge of where the traps are, where the monsters are, where the treasure is, and the objectives and all that stuff. And it is, it is so much fun.
You get excited just talking about it.
And it's very simple, but you can kind of, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. Like, when you essentially, they're giving you these pretty stock characters, a human barbarian, a dwarf, an elf, a wizard. But, when I role play the crap out of it. I come up with like cool names for them, a little bit of backstory that has no mechanical effect in the game, but it just adds to the richness of the story and just things that happen in the game. We try and carry forward, and it's so much fun. And one of the thrills this past summer was, when they announced the reboot of the game through Hasbro. We had the creator of the game, Stephen Baker, come on, and we talked to him a little bit. And one of the most interesting things about the interview in that HeroQuest episode was that he actually wanted another panel on the board, but because of cost, they nixed that, and so of course that affected sort of the size of the adventures. But it got me thinking. I was like, man, what would some of those adventures have been like if they had even more space and stuff like that?
That's cool. I always am impressed with I don't know if you do research before your shows or your memory, but you just you remember the details of comic books and movies and quotes and all this type of stuff. I'm like, man, you got a good memory.
It used to be better. I'll say that. It's funny that in my mid 30s now, it's not quite as sharp as it was, 10 years ago. Yeah. Like I was actually trying to think about some inside joke, and I've completely forgotten what the origin of said inside joke was. And it's like, oh man. And that was from Avengers Endgame. So it wasn't that long ago that I was like, man, how did this joke start? But now it's just part of my lexicon. But thank you for that. I'm good with quotes.
Yeah.
My dad and I from an early age used to say that we speak movie.
Yeah.
So quotes and sort of attaching feeling and memory to those has always been something that I have done for sure.
I used to quote movies all the time, and I don't know if they're getting less quotable or I'm just forgetting them all, because it's like I'm still quoting the same movies I did when I was 20 years old. I'm like, oh, come on.
I think they're getting less quotable. To be honest with you,
I'm going to go with that. But my buddy on the Disagreeable Nerd Show, he's 24, 25, but he can just almost quote most movies he sees word for word, and it's just amazing. I'm like, man, how do you remember that stuff? But yeah, the older I'm getting,
time's undefeated. It'll get him too. Don't worry.
Well, mine is time and probably alcohol, but oh well. So your number 3 would be your favorite movie.
Okay. Now here's where I'm going to be a little bit of Bubba myself, because I couldn't pick just one.
That's fine.
So I'm going to give you my top 5. Because I'm an old soul that grew up watching the AMC channel when it actually was playing American movie classics without commercial editing. Casablanca is definitely one of my all-time favorite movies. Infinitely quotable, and it probably influenced my romantic life a little bit too much. So there's Casablanca.
She's always leaving on a plane. Is that it?
Well, yeah. I'm always the one watching them go off on the plane. I'm never Victor Laszlo.
Oh.
So it is what it is.
I had heard, of course, Casablanca's classic, but I literally just watched that maybe 6 months ago for the first time ever. And I was like, yes. And I was like, wow, it really is a good movie. And then I was like, wow, this movie, like almost every line is a quote that I've heard my whole life. And I was like, good grief. It's stacked.
You're right. I mean, gosh, quotes just fall out of the sky from it. And for me, somebody that watched it obsessively, even ones that people don't quote, become part of just sort of my everyday vocabulary. So I love Casablanca, and I do think it really holds up, and it leads into my next choice, because you look at the Rick's Cafe Americaine and just the menagerie of characters and stuff like that you see in there. You can't tell me that George Lucas wasn't inspired and took that and put it into Mos Eisley Cantina, because the original Star Wars is another just tippy top movie. Just as it was in the theaters, that is, gosh, I mean, I love that movie. I watch it frequently, and it just never ceases to just still give me that same sense of wonder. And it's what movies are all about is Star Wars, in my opinion.
So you're going with the OG. Part 4.
The OG, yes. What would, A New Hope, but the 1977 Star Wars.
Yeah.
And then L.A. Confidential. I love film noir. I love old movies. L.A. Confidential, a 90s movie that really captured the spirit of classic Hollywood and classic film noir, but from a different, more updated perspective in terms of the people making the films. What a great cast. I mean, Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, Kim Basinger, Kevin Spacey. It's a phenomenal movie.
Whenever that came out, it wasn't too long after that came out, but my mother was a Russell Crowe fan, and so therefore I was. And yeah, L.A. Confidential. No, that was like one of Russell Crowe's first movies. It was
pre-Gladiator. I didn't see it until after Gladiator.
Okay, that's what it was for me too. Then, yeah.
So that leads me into my next choice, which is Gladiator. That movie was huge for me. It came out in 2000. And again, if you've listened to the Best Damn Nerd Show, or if you've known me as I grew up, molded by AMC, and very much so. Remakes are bad, and old stuff is better. I'm the first one to grant you that I was a weird kid growing up, and very much so an old soul. So I sort of had to be dragged to Gladiator by my friend, and because in my mind I was like, this is going to be a ripoff of Spartacus. What is this? This is going to suck. And I left, and I was like, that's one of the best movies I've ever seen. And whoever played Maximus Decimus Meridius is my guy. Yeah. And I still maintain this. I think Russell Crowe is the best actor of this generation. I just think he is that good, and I think that he could have gotten more roles and more Oscar nods and all this stuff, but Gladiator really changed my perspective, because I went in there thinking it was going to be one way, and I left and I started seeking out other Russell Crowe movies, which is what led me to LA Confidential and The Insider and stuff like that. And it was a Gladiator Christmas that year. I saw it 7 times in theaters.
Good grief.
My dad got me like the soundtrack, the art book, all the stuff. Like I was hard into Gladiator for like a while.
Well, Gladiator's my number one, and it has been for a long time. And sometimes I have to defend it to people. But I like it, and
it's a beautiful movie.
I know. See, kindred spirits.
Yeah.
That soundtrack's like a immediate buy, and then people copied it, like that style of, I would almost say, ancient lamentations.
Yeah, it certainly revitalized the sort of like the film epic genre. Because it was so successful. I've never been more into the Academy Awards than that year waiting. I was like, better win Best Picture, Russell Crowe better win Best Actor. I thought Joaquin Phoenix got screwed out of Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, yeah.
And it just, I love that movie. It is so good. I might watch that later, actually, because it's been a minute since I put it on. And then I'll round out my top 5 with The Princess Bride. I talk about movie quotes. That's just such a fun, quotable fantasy adventure movie.
Is that your number 2?
That rounds out my 5, I think, because I got Casablanca, Star Wars, LA Confidential, Gladiator, Princess Bride.
Okay, yeah. Princess Bride, number 1, eh?
Well, not in any order.
Oh, okay.
These are just like the 5 that I could pluck them out of the sky.
A feel for your style of movie go watching. A little bit of everything. Yeah. I got you. Yeah. Princess Bride, also one of my favorites. Yeah, that's good.
So good. I knew I had a red flag with a girl I was seeing when she was like, "Ugh, I hate The Princess Bride." And I was like, "Well, that's going to be a problem."
Oh, yeah. Okay. Number 2, board game you would like to see made into a movie.
Well, I know Mark Truex loved Battleship, the movie, a board game classic.
It was. That's one of those. It was dumb, but I kind of enjoyed, because it was just, I don't know. It's bad. I know it's bad. Bad, but I still enjoyed it.
It might be so bad it's good. The one I would like to see made into a movie is Arkham Horror or Mansions of Madness. Just take one of the Lovecraftian games and make a really cool movie out of that. I would be super into it, because I don't think we've really reached our full potential with Lovecraftian horror on screen yet.
I'm not a Lovecraft guy, but that should have been made around the Mummy era, with Brendan Fraser being the main dude.
Yeah, you're speaking Jeff's language now. He's a huge Brendan Fraser Mummy guy. That's actually a great call. He would have been great as one of the investigators. He could have been like the private eye character. Yeah. It would have totally worked.
I have so many guys that are past their prime now that would have been, to me, that's genre of movie, like the adventure Indiana Jones style. We don't really have those anymore. And I always thought, of course, I feel like I've heard y'all mention this, something about Nathan.
Nathan Fillion?
Nathan Fillion. I can't remember. I don't know if I've missed something, if y'all are pro or anti-Fillion.
A couple, we're split. Okay. So John and specifically John Craig of the Best Damn Nerd Show is he's not anti so much as he likes. John likes to stir the drink, and he likes to troll people, and so he was kind of going at Fillion fans. I happen to like Nathan Fillion.
I do too.
I think he's a good sort of adventurer prototype too.
Hey, of course, I've always said, his Mal was basically an Indiana Jones style character, or even Han Solo style character, but he's a little past his prime now. Brendan Fraser, a little past his prime, but both of those guys would have been great revamped or rebooted Indiana Jones, more so than Shia LaBeouf, but whatever.
Certainly. They would fit right into some type of 30s style pulp hero fare. You're going into the Amazon, and you're looking for some type of rare jewel and stuff like that.
Although I guess now it's Dwayne The Rock Johnson in the Jumanji movies.
That is true. And you know what? As a huge professional wrestling fan, I love that The Rock runs Hollywood.
That is something I missed out on. I remember it from my childhood. I remember Hulk Hogan, Sting, but beyond that, just what I hear just happened to brush past on the internet.
You know what the terrifying thing is that they're still on TV. Hulk Hogan was just out on hosting WrestleMania the last 2 nights, and Sting is on AEW on TNT every week now. So they're still doing it.
Wow. And you have like a broadcasting job dealing with that?
Yeah, I do. I do commentary for professional wrestling. I'm part of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. So we're on in LA. We're syndicated up in San Francisco, Memphis, Gulf Coast. I believe we never say never. I think we were in. I want to say we were in Amarillo. And we might be. So we're on in a bunch of places. But yes, I do commentary for pro wrestling as well.
And are you still doing the Golden State Warrior stuff?
I'm still doing that as well. Yeah.
Wow. Very nice. So that's why you're so good at being on the microphone. I can tell.
Well, I keep busy. That's for sure. I get lots of reps.
All right. Let's see. So the Arkham Horror. Yeah. Get you a good Indiana Jones style movie there. Although, we keep talking about rebooting it. He's still making them at 80 years old, though. So I guess why are they? He needs to stop. He needs to retire.
I just wish they had stopped at The Last Crusade,
Yeah. All right. Number 1, your favorite anything. What are you into right now?
This was tough for me because I'm into a lot. But I was thinking about what I've really enjoyed during this pandemic era, and I've taken to rewatching some shows, and I have rewatched Cowboy Bebop a lot, the anime, and I appreciate it even more now. I just the music, the storytelling. If you haven't seen it, it's a space western film noir. 26 episode. That's it. It's very finite. So if you haven't seen it, to me, the fact that it's only 26 episodes makes it so accessible. And it was sort of a gateway anime for so many people. And so I've really enjoyed watching Cowboy Bebop again and again. I
like the HBO seasons, 5 to 8 episodes, 4 or 5 seasons at the most, and then I can feel like I've accomplished something. But when you come at me with 100 to 200 episodes of something, I'm out.
It's tough. It's tough to sort of feel like jumping in. It's a little overwhelming, and I think that's why I'm going to start, because usually I would recommend like Full Metal Alchemist or something to somebody that hasn't watched any anime or whatever. But Cowboy Bebop's just, I think, the one to recommend because it's the most sort of American adjacent anime. It's a Western. It's a film noir. And it's sci-fi, but also it's just the 26 episodes at 30 minutes a pop. It's like you can knock that out in a weekend.
Oh yeah, it was y'all. I would listen to y'all's episode on Avatar: The Last Airbender. I've heard about that from several other people saying what a great show it was. So I finally started I'm at the end of season 1.
Okay,
and
stuff's getting real.
Yeah, and I didn't realize I watched the movie before I knew anything about it.
Oh, you poor guy.
And I didn't realize that they just condensed that whole first season into one movie.
And apparently I actually still haven't seen it because of the horror stories that I've heard about how bad the movie is.
It's bad. It is really bad. I mean, the guy, the Aang, he's so vibrant and, he's got personality of the cartoon. In the movie, he's just like a drone or something, just lifeless. Absolutely lifeless.
That goes against the complete spirit of the character.
It was, it's a completely different show, and that's why it's terrible. Yeah. It was. No, really
I love Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think that, and I came to that late too, but I really believe that's a show that if I'm ever fortunate enough to have children, I will have them watch that show because it teaches good lessons. It doesn't insult their intelligence, and it's great character arcs, great characters. Aang is an amazing protagonist, maybe my favorite protagonist since Luke Skywalker. Wow. He's so easy to root for.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. And it's like the humor in it, I'm laughing. I'm like, it's a pretty funny show. It's a funny show. Not Katara, the
Katara,
brother.
Yeah.
The brother?
Oh, Sokka.
He cracks me up, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people love Sokka.
All right. Well, that was James Kincaid's Bubba Top 5. Well, James, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it very much. It's good to actually get to have a conversation with you. I've been listening to y'all for over 10 years, even through your hiatus when I would email and say, what's going on?
Hey, I thank you for doing that too.
but y'all pushed through and now y'all rebooted and it seems like y'all got it going on.
Yeah, we haven't missed a week yet. So that's I'm proud of that, and I really I can't thank you enough for, being a listener and for forging this connection. And it is still just super cool to me. And thank you so much for having me. And anytime you want to have us back or anything, or just talk board games, you let me know. We're happy to do it.
Will do. Thank you. We'll have you back on sometime.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye-bye.